Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Grebner Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamore head coach Jared Grebner. Coach, you played 9 games this year, 9 regular season games, and we started noticing from about mid-season on that you're starting to get a little bit better, and a little bit better. And people said, well, that's because we probably didn't play the best of opponents. But you played a really good opponent this past week in Decatur, MacArthur. And you came out, and to date, you played your best game of the year.
The kids had a great week of preparation. I thought they were locked in all week long, and they proved that out on the field on Saturday. It's nice to get those home playoff games on the home field, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to take advantage of another home game because you don't know how many you're guaranteed this time of year. And so they came out locked in, ready to go, and it was nice to see them have that upward trajectory where they're still trying to get better every single week and every single day.
You were faced defensively. You were faced with kind of a double-edged sword. You had a Division I receiver that you had to defend, and then you had a Division I running back that was only a freshman, but was getting offers all last week. What did he get? 3 more Division I offers last week? 4, yeah. That makes it tough to try and stop because MacArthur was pretty good. They had just come off a win 2 weeks earlier against Sacred Heart Griffin, Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin. So they know how to win. They know how to beat good teams. And they were coming to our place. So there was a little bit of apprehension, I'm sure, from your guys' point where you couldn't let them get any kind of momentum. You had to strike first. And I love the idea that you came out to start the game, you onside kick, and you came within, I'm not really sure how we didn't get the ball, but the ball somehow shot out of bounds.
Yeah, we jumped on it and it just squirted out from underneath us, right out of bounds, but it was a great kick, great coverage for us to get in there. Coach Albert does a great job with that week in and week out of putting those guys in the right spots. We just barely missed it. But that gave them a little short field right there. But with the weapons that they have back there returning the ball, you never know what's going to happen. And they had their receiver, they had their running back. All those guys were on kickoff return, and they've had some big ones to break games open this year. And so you just kind of had to pick your poison there. But the very next play, I thought, kind of set the tone for the game. When they ran their outside zone, and Marshall Vasquez, he kind of set the tone, and he kind of said, "Welcome to Malone Field" right off the bat. And, I think everybody else kind of followed suit. Marshall's been an integral part of our defense and offense, for that matter. But he's a senior captain. He played defense for us last year as a junior, this year as a senior, and he said, here, I'm going to set the tone for the rest of us, and he sure did, because and the one thing when we were watching our film from our defense perspective was there was a lot of hats to the ball, and we always had their guys, for the most part, going backwards on contact.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of falling forward.
Right.
And so when you can wrap, move your feet, gang tackle, it's always a welcome sight. But you're going to have to do that week in, week out, max effort, especially come playoff time.
There are 2 players that we talked about, the 2 Division I players, which was Woods, the wide receiver, and then my son, Johnson Cook, the running back. Woods had 2 catches for the afternoon. Johnson Cook had 12 carries for 58 yards. That's getting it done. You're going to beat most teams when you hold their best players to just 2 catches and less than 60 yards rushing.
Yeah, and it was a challenge to the defense. When you see kids on the other side of the ball getting an offer here, or going here, whatever it might be, we just kind of said that, hey, there's been plenty of guys that have played on Malone Field, whether it's for Metamora or whether it's for an opposing team. And so we're no strangers to talented guys. We have plenty of our own talented guys, but That's why it's a team game.
Yeah.
That's why 11 have to be out there at a time. Credit to a lot of our scout team, for giving us the look that they were able to, because it's hard to simulate the speed, and that's where we were kind of worried about with my son's speed, if we could simulate that in practice. And those kids gave it their all during practice, those running backs. We just rotated them and kept those guys fresh and kept them going at full speed because we needed to see that kind of look, and those guys helped prepare us for that moment.
I always talk about the 3 biggest plays in the game, but I think there were 5. I think there were 5 really big plays for Metamora in that game Saturday. One was we didn't get the onside kick, and we held them first and second down, and then they did what you kind of thought they might do. Third down, they get the big play and get it down to the 12. They end up scoring, and that had to be I would think a team that wasn't mentally tough would maybe be a little demoralizing. Mm-hmm. But your kids came right back, and I don't believe they scored on the next series of downs. We marched it all the way down to the 5. We didn't score, or we didn't get the first down. We turn it over on downs at the 5. You came back out on defense. You played really well. I thought that the fact that maybe not one play, but that next series of downs on defense, when you held them and made them punt and gave us good field position, I believe at our own 48 or 49-yard line, and set up another scoring drive. Wait a sec, we didn't score on that one either, did we? We got inside the 10 again. Right. But I thought your defense, I think your kids knew that at some point things were going to turn. You were going to take over the game. You were going to win the battle in the trenches, and all they had to do was prevent MacArthur from getting a bigger lead than 7-0.
Yeah, it was the first drive of the game, and we just kind of told the kids, hey, we know they scored, but in some ways, in a small way, even though they scored, it was a small win, just for the fact that we knew that we could stop, their main play. We knew that we could stop their running back. Basically, they scored on 2 big plays, the fade, which is not what they're known for, but they're able to do it. Their quarterback can sling the ball, and they have receivers that can go get it. But that's not who they want to be. And so they gained their yards there, and then they gained their yards on the reverse, and that's how they scored, was on the reverse to Owens. And so we just said, hey, if they have to resort to those 2 plays right off the bat, and in order to get points on the board, we're going to be in good shape. And so we said, just stay with it. We kind of learned from our mistakes there. It was nice to see when they come out in the second half. Their very first play that they run against us was another reverse, this time with their other wide receiver, and we were able to stop them. I think Shea Seals made a great play, filling, it was like maybe a 1-2 yard gain max.
Barely got back to line of scrimmage,
And so, we just said, just keep staying with it, and those kids did, and they just kept rallying and playing for one another.
I thought one of the big plays, though, you scored, got the 2-point conversion, went up 8-7. We start another drive. We get down to the 4-yard line. We fumble. It goes right to Johnson Cook. Johnson Cook picks it up, scoop and score, 98 yards. There was no panic on your kids. They came back and put together a nice drive. But the other one that I thought was, to me, it was the play of the game. It changed. I think it changed everything from your perspective. Momentum went to Metamora. The wind really left the sails of MacArthur when you guys were down on your own 5-yard line, third down, about 14 yards to go. You get an offside motion penalty. It moves it back inside the 5 down to the 3-yard line. Correct. You run a beautiful play, just an absolute beautiful play. You put the running back in motion to the left, and when he went in motion, that defensive end went down inside. And, I mean, you had to probably think, oh, my, this is going to work. And you came back with Nick Rhodes kind of running a counter play to the backside, and he picked up 33 yards. It was went from the third, and maybe some momentum going towards MacArthur, but instead the momentum went. It even got even stronger for you because you moved the ball out, and then you end up marching it down in like 2 or 3 more plays, and you scored again, and that's when you took the 15-14 lead going into the half.
Yeah, that was a huge play. Like you said, I think it was 3rd and 17, backed up against our own end zone, and the offensive coaches, they put together another great game plan. They called a great game, and that was no different. We showed that similar motion earlier in the game, threw it a couple times. We showed it versus Dunlap as well. That was the opening play there, and came back to it this time just with the run aspect of it. And Nick was able to pick up some great yards. It was blocked really well, and that's very deflating for a defense when you think, okay, hey, we got them 3rd and 17 right where we want them. Hey, you know what? Even if we give up 12 yards, they're going to have to punt. They're backed up, and all of a sudden it's like, man, we just let them out.
Yeah.
And so we just gave them a second chance, and then on top of that, we let them go 97 yards or whatever it was in total. And as a defensive guy, we love that because the best defense is us not even being out on the field,
right.
Because if they can keep grinding, and whether it's 3 yards at a time, 4 yards at a time, and every now and then you pop one that's a little bit bigger, and when you can keep that clock running, it's always a welcome sight.
Yeah, and the thing that you get that 33-yard gain, and I don't know if it was intentional or what, but you kind of went quick then right after. You didn't give them a chance to like regroup. I mean, you were right back up to the line of scrimmage. The line ran down the field. They got it just, I think you snapped the ball with 22 or 21 seconds to go on the play clock. You got the ball, or you got the play in that quick. I don't know if that was intentional, but to me, that was just icing on the cake. It was more salt in the wound to MacArthur. That they had, now we have to defend again. And then I think you picked up another 10 or 15 yards. And, you talk about Nick Rhodes, who had 200 plus yards. You had Jadon, who had close to 190. And then you had Evan Kyle, who had close to 100 yards. You had 3 guys that were just, they had close to, they had over 400 yards of offense and rushing. And, you're going to win 99% of the games, and you have 3 guys have that kind of an afternoon.
Yeah, those guys ran real well, especially in some of the short yardage downs. I thought that they understood. All right, there's times where I just got to lower my shoulder and go. And I actually thought some of our backs' best runs. Same thing with a lot of the other coaches. They were calling them man runs. I mean, they ran like a man on that play. They were only 4-yard gains.
Yeah.
But they came in crucial times. They knew it wasn't time to pitter-patter or try and, get a little extra yards or get fancy. It was, hey, I'm going to put my shoulder down, get 4 yards, and let's just get first down and keep the chains moving. And then they knew when to pick their moments for maybe a bigger play. And so just developing that feel was great to see out of all 3 backs. But, we talked earlier before, we came on but it was just a testament to all the offensive linemen, H-backs.
And we'll talk about them in a little bit.
Because to open up holes for almost 500 yards of rushing, all the credit goes to them.
The other thing, too, the thing that I really appreciated was, your receivers. The thing that was to me so important when you watch Metamore, and Metamore's always been known for this, but a play will go, left or right, but that backside receiver, man, those guys were downfield getting blocks Saturday, and they were getting some good blocks.
And the thing is, you got to stay engaged. Can't take a play off because you never know if one of our running backs is going to cut it back or bounce it or anything like that. And so you always got to be doing your job. And we always just say that, if you want to catch the ball, you got to do everything else well also, so our guys have really done a pretty good job of blocking out on the perimeter, as well as being a weapon for us catching the ball.
When we talk about your offensive lineman and Marshall Vasquez, I thought A.J. Stone did a really nice job of sealing that, especially when Jadon would bounce it outside. There were times, you had a 4th and 3. The hole in the middle of the line was kind of clogged up, and he bounced it outside, and A.J. Stone came and sealed that backer, and he was able to get, I think, about a 24-yard gain to easily get a first down. And, that at times it can be an easy block, and at times that can be a tough block. But when you're playing against a team that athletic, that is a really, really tough block.
AJ he's grown leaps and bounds, not only this year, but, just from his freshman year on. And he's been kind of bounced around position-wise. And
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, we've always called him the Swiss Army knife of the team, because you can put him anywhere you want to, and he knows exactly what to do. And he'll do it willingly. And so we kind of bounced around, tried to find home for him. And, man, he's really relished in the role of being an H-back and being a blocker. And he's done an outstanding job for us. He even mixed it up this week and had that white tape going across his helmet.
Was that Saturday? Did he have that on Saturday? What was that for?
Part of the flap of his helmet was hanging down, that just kind of the glue of the Rydell logo was hanging down, and so it was in his eyes. And so that was just holding that in. But it looked like his helmet almost had a headband on. And so we kind of were all chuckling in the middle of the game. And so he kept our spirits in a pretty good mood during the game and just kept things pretty loose. But no, AJ's done a tremendous job for us. And he's raised the bar for the expectations that we have for him. Because all he did was, commit himself to the weight room. He put some good weight on in the off season, and we're glad to see the strides he's made day in and day out.
The other play that I thought was really important was right after Jadon had fumbled on the inside the 5, and they had scooped and scored and went 98 yards. I thought it was really important. He turned around on the next series of downs, and on the first play, he got about a 22-yard gain. I thought, it doesn't look like he's dancing anymore. It looks like he's still doing a little bit of, there's some moves being made inside the line, but it seems like he's always moving forward, and he's just gliding through there. Yeah. He's very, very smooth. Yeah. And, that was, he's got a very unique style of running.
He does.
But I thought that it was really important for you guys to give him the ball the first play after the fumble, because there was probably nobody more upset about it than he was.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if it was the first play, because I think he wanted a little bit of a break.
Oh, because he went on defense.
Because he was on defense and everything like that. But I want to say it was maybe third down when he went back in, or second down.
Might have been.
But it was something. But when it was his next time in, he got a carry. And that's been our motto, for all year long is, hey, next play. You got a good play, well, you can't dwell on it because you got another one to try and, do a good job at. If you had a bad play, you can't dwell on it because you can't do anything about it now. So the only thing that you can do is play for the one that's in front of you. And so there's going to be mistakes made. It's a physical mistake. Those happen. You see NFL guys fumble it. You see college guys fumble it. It's going to happen. Now, nobody wants to see it happen. Jadon doesn't want to see it happen. But he bounced right back, and he had some tough runs. One of the most impressive runs of that entire game. I can't remember if it was like 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3. And he just stuck it up in there and hit it for about 4 yards.
It was a about 4th and 4, and he picked up about 5.
And he just stuck his foot in the ground, lowered his shoulder, and that's when all of us coaches just kind of looked at each other and said, "Yeah, now that's a run." And there wasn't any dancing. He just decided, I got to get this, and and that was where you start to see, his maturity come in.
Yeah.
When you start to develop a good feel and realize, hey, when can I pick a spot to try and bounce it? Because I might see a crease, but hey, I just got to get You know,
Yeah.
if it's 4 yards, I got to get at least 4.5. And he knew exactly where the sticks were, and it was like he shot out of a cannon once he put his foot in the ground and got north-south.
That was my third big play or play of the game. That was the exact play. It happened right at about the 40 to 35 yard line. The other play that I thought was really big was a defensive play. It was a 4th and 5.
Yeah.
They were inside maybe our 15-yard line somewhere. They were deep into our territory. And they tried and they put the big number 47. What's he go? What did he go? About 290?
300,
Yeah.
290.
Ooh. He was a load. And they stuck him in, and he was kind of the lead back. And you guys stood him up, and then you stood up their star running back. And they needed 4. I think they got about 3.5.
Yeah.
And your defense did an outstanding job. You know, it constantly kept taking the wind out of their sail. And I thought that was huge.
You know, and when you can get those stops down in the red zone, that is huge. It's a big momentum boost for their team. You know, any way you can. Like, so there's times, like we mentioned earlier, hey, we bent a little bit, but we never really broke. Especially after the first series, we found ways to get ourselves off the field. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's one thing we always talk about is money downs. What can you do on money downs? You know, 3rd down, get yourself off the field. 4th down, you know, how do we get ourselves off the field? We don't want to extend their drives by any means. And so when we had the opportunity, for the most part, we were able to get ourselves off the field defensively and put it back in the hands of offense.
The other big play was early in the game, and we've probably gone close to a month before when you go back to our last punt. Jaden Lambert came in, and he got off, a 56 or 57
It was 52 yards.
52-yard punt. And, I mean, it was a spiral, and he kicked it away from the return man, and it went down the sideline. It took a little bit of a roll, and unfortunately our field is still really soft, so it absorbs a little bit. You know, the old grass field, that thing might have rolled down inside the 5. But he got off the punt of the year.
Okay.
Again, you won that play. You constantly kept winning every play, and I thought even in a punt, when they held us, you turned it around and kind of got the win back.
Yeah. You know, field position's crucial. You know, every yard matters in every game, but it's in the playoffs. You know, everything just gets, you know, is that much more magnified. Exactly. And so when you can boom a 52-yarder, and he did exactly like Coach Herring asked him, do not kick it down the middle. We want you to kick it towards the sideline so they don't have a chance to return it. And boy, not only did he kick it next to the sideline, I mean, he put it 2 yards from the sideline so we could maximize every yardage out of that punt. And then he got off a boomer, you know, on top of it. Had great hang time, and so that just set our defense up so they weren't starting with great field position from there.
It flipped the field.
It did. And, you know, those are crucial moments in a game that sometimes go unnoticed, unfortunately. But that's why, you know, we always say your special team's got to be special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly right. That was, to me, those 5 plays were so big for you. And, you know, you came out that second half and you basically completely shut them down. They did not score in the second half. And you guys scored 3 touchdowns, 21 points. And, you know, I thought at the end of the game, when you had the opportunity to put the game on ice, that's exactly what you did. Now, none of those were, you know, over and above touchdowns. They were still within the realm of the game, you know, and I, you know, you got a fumble. Nick Rhodes, you know, what do you have? 200 yards rushing. He recovered a fumble. He had a pass deflection. You put him in on defense. I think it's because of trust. You know.
Yeah, and you know, and there's some situations in long down and distances. You know, we just are starting to put more DBs on the field, and he's really good at playing the center fielder back there and robbing a little bit for us. And it allows our guys up front to be a little bit more aggressive because they know they're not an island and they have some help over top. And so he does a really good job in that role. I still remember him doing it last year as a junior in some of those JV games. They used him in some of those positions. And so it's not like anything new for him. It's just that we're starting to utilize that package a little bit more. But defensively in the second half, they did a good job. But mainly because the offense. we talked about it earlier. They put us in a position where, one, we were well rested, and two, they kept their offense off the field because there's time and time again where there's 4 yards, 6 yards, bust a 10-yarder. And then 4 yards, 6 yards, bust a 10-yarder. And it was just that way, and they just kept grinding and grinding. And when you can keep their weapons off the field and keep the ball out of their hands, that's all the defense can ask for. And, so our offense was one of the best defenders, especially in the second half, because they kept their offense at bay by keeping them off the field. And, there's times where I think, our kids could feel that, hey, we got this. We can keep rolling. Get the play in. And we wouldn't send it in until about 20 seconds left on the clock because we wanted that clock to start moving and keep grinding. But it was good because they understood why. But they were like, "Hey, we got this rolling. Yeah. We can keep it going, but we can keep it rolling and eat some clock at the same time."
Before the game, in the pregame interview with Coach Dolinski, he made the comment. He goes, we're not going to be able to. They're young kids. They're not going to get worn down. A lot of guys going both ways. They're not going to get worn down, but we want to make them so that they don't want to get hit anymore. They're going to be beat up. They're not going to want to be hit anymore. I think about midway through the third quarter, you start seeing that those holes that were pretty tight, and Jadon and Evan had to get through those holes pretty quick. Nick Rhodes also had to get through those pretty quick. Later in that third quarter and most of the fourth, those holes got a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. They didn't want to have those. They didn't want to get hit anymore.
And sometimes you wear down physically. Sometimes it's just mentally. Like, here it comes again. It's almost like, all right, we know what they're going to do, but it's just a matter of, can we stop it? And, we were fortunate enough on Saturday where in the second half we had a lot of success. I believe all of our pass completions were in the first half, off the top of my head, but I don't know if we even attempted one in the second half.
One pass in the second half. Okay. You didn't need to.
But that's the thing. It was kind of a old school, a vintage game.
Yeah.
For us, where we just kind of packed it in a little bit, and we just let the guys up front eat.
And that's a great way to put it. They didn't. Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll have the Germantown Grille player of the game, and we'll talk a little bit about your upcoming opponent, the Highland Bulldogs, this coming Saturday.
Okay.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grille is growing to meet customer demand, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. And Germantown Grille still has all the food and spirits that keep our customers coming back. Stop by to check out our daily specials. The game's on at Germantown Grille, where Central Illinois loves to eat. Open 7 days a week, just off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Jared Grebner Show. Coach, and we talked a little bit about this before we went on air, but I think it's, there's a lot of guys you could say this player of the game. Nick Rhodes, Jadon, I thought Marshall Vasquez, you could just name a bunch of them. But, man, I don't think any of that was going to happen without the play of your offensive line. And we're going to go with all 5 of your offensive linemen. Ty Dykes,
Alex
Lane, Boston Cox,
Caden Kiefer, Landon Cowper.
Yeah, those guys were just, and you got to throw in your H-backs in that group too.
You got AJ Stone, you got Marshall Vasquez, Sam Bagol at tight end.
Yes.
All those guys up front did a great job. Seth Bauman came in, played some tight end when we went double tight a little bit, and they just continued to set the tone for the entire game.
The physicality, I thought, was so evident, and you kind of had that feeling. You just hoped that the 2 times you got inside the 10 and didn't score, you hoped that wouldn't come back to haunt you, and it never did, because your linemen just started taking over, and once they got that grip, I mean, they never let up, and it carried over into the second. You got better the second half.
Yeah, those guys didn't wear down, and it was one of those games that just felt like they said, all right, we'll set the tone. you guys just jump on our backs, enjoy the ride, because we're gonna get you guys down the field. We're gonna get you in the places you guys need to be. It wasn't mistake free or anything by any means. No game ever is.
I think they only had one penalty.
And so, so penalties, not a lot of breakdowns in assignments. We knew that they'd have some negative plays. Their defensive tackle is going to go to Eastern Illinois and play. He was a good player.
They brought some backers, and they're tough to pick up.
There's going to be times in football games where you guess right, or we don't do so well, or they just make a really great play. But they knew that this isn't going to last. They might get one on us, but we're going to get 3-4 in a row, and then maybe they get another one on us, but we're going to get 3-4 in a row again. And those guys just said, hey, just follow us down the field, and we'll open the holes, and we'll let you guys do the rest.
I thought in the third quarter there was a play. Nick Rhodes, I think, got down to about the 5-yard line on about a 40-yard gain. And on that play, Ty Dykes hit his initial contact with the guy was a pancake block. And as he's coming down the field, I think number 7, Johnson Cook, came across. He pancaked him too. And I don't think Nick Rhodes got touched until he got down to about the inside the 10. And because they had angles on him. And you get 2 pancake blocks on one play. Wow.
Ty's a really good player for us. He started for us as a sophomore, now as a junior. We expect big things out of him, and he's done a tremendous job on both sides of the ball. As a guard in the Metamore offense, we expect a lot of that out of them. They're pulling a lot. Things go behind them.
That's what makes your offense go.
Yeah, and Ty has done a tremendous job. I thought Caden Kiefer, as at the left guard position, just played an outstanding game. And, maybe his best game all year long of just getting in the right spot, his physicality. And those guys are really starting to gel at the right time. Coach Otto's done a phenomenal job with them. Year in and year out, nothing changes. He does a great job. Those kids respond to his coaching. And, to see that him get them where they are now from where they started, is just a testament to his work, but it's also a testament to our kids' ability to learn, our kids' ability to work hard and to get better every day. And, those 5 that you just mentioned, they're a cohesive unit. When we stretch, those guys always make sure they're in the exact same line together every single day. And, where one goes, the other goes.
They've really come a long way. I think you probably thought they kind of had it in them, but you just never know how that's going to pan out. And sometimes it takes a little while. Yeah. And they did. It is panned out, and they have come a long way.
And sometimes, it's just a matter of confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the beginning of the year, maybe, it might be your first varsity games. You're not quite used to the speed. And when you start getting used to the speed, start getting some confidence in you, you start playing faster and more physical yourself. And, those guys, Boston Cox does a tremendous job. He's really like an unsung hero up there. The only time a lot of people even know who he is if there's a bad snap. They'll look in the program, who's our center again? And stuff like that. But he does a tremendous job of putting those on the money. But he calls, our blocking schemes for every run, for every pass. And, he points out, who the mic is, and he does a tremendous job of getting everywhere where they need to be. He's kind of the glue that holds all those guys together and makes them go. And so he's kind of an unsung hero there. Now, the linemen, they're a pretty quiet group overall, but on Saturday they did a lot of talking with their pads.
Yeah, they did, and that was a testament. That 500 yards rushing, nearly 500 yards that she had. Man, you really got to put that. Your backs did a great job, no question about it. They got to the holes, they saw the holes. It's a team game. The linemen got to do their job, the running backs have to do their job, and they did it. But it all starts up front, and those guys were fantastic.
Yeah.
You head into Saturday's second round playoff game. You play the Highland Bulldogs, Last time we played them was 2016. I believe we
Correct.
beat them 25-14 or no, it was 35.
The score I don't remember.
I can't remember that either, but it was we end up having a really good second part of the second quarter, and then the second half we just pulled away and played outstanding and came away with the W. And one of the guys on that team, Sam Laporta, is now went to Iowa. Now he's playing for the Detroit
Caught a
Lions.
touchdown last night, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. There's been plenty of guys on Malone Field that have been, talented enough to keep on going and playing at the next level. And, he's one of them. I think it was Braden Adams that year. And we had complete confidence in him, and we just said, hey, take him.
Yeah.
He's yours. He's a Division I kid. He's going to Iowa. But we have enough trust in you that you can man him up. And we didn't really give him any help, but he just competed his tail off time and time again. And, we were able to come out with that victory. And I think Laporta had one touchdown catch in the south end zone where Adams had great coverage. It was just
a great catch.
He just made a great catch, and sometimes that happens. But we're good. We're fortunate enough to come out with a victory there. We're going to go down to Highland this time around. They're going to play host to us, so we'll get to make the road trip, take the show on the road. Got to have a great week of practice again. Because they do things that are going to keep you on your toes. They're going
Very sound.
They're going to keep you honest. They're a well-coached team, and so we're going to have to be ready to play. You start narrowing it down. There's only 16 teams left in each class. We keep saying that we want to be one of the 8 left,
yes.
and but we got to take it one game at a time. And in order to be one of the 8 left. In 5A, after this week, we got to take care of business on Saturday, and that starts with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You got to win those days. You can't take any days off. So, in order to be one of those 8 left at the beginning of next week, we're going to have to play really well offensively again. We're going to have to be really sound defensively because a well-coached team with some athletes like that and sound, disciplined football guys, they're going to present a big challenge for us.
They have a running back similar to Jadon, maybe not quite as fast. Jadon got his 1,000 yards last week, very impressive. But I believe they've got a running back. I believe it's Hunter Fry. Just a steady back. He's not going to wow you with speed or size. I think he weighs about 165 pounds. Just a very steady, hard-nosed football player. Sophomore quarterback. Their line's not ginormous, but they do block well. And I believe their coach, isn't it Jimmy Wernicke, was the offensive coordinator at Breeze when we went down in 2009, I believe, and played at Breeze Mater Dei. He was the offensive coordinator there. He went back home to Highland. He's from Highland to coach. I believe he's been there about 13 years now, something like that. That's going to be an exciting game. Any game this late in the season is exciting, and you gotta kind of relish these opportunities and have fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And because there's a lot of teams that give anything to be in your spot, and I, something you said at the end of the game, you got to enjoy this.
Correct.
Go home tonight and enjoy it.
Wins are tough.
Winning's hard to do in any sport.
Playoff wins are tough as well. We consider ourselves fortunate to be playing in November. There's a lot of teams that would like to be playing in November right now and aren't fortunate enough to have that opportunity. And so we have to, just live in the moment. We don't have to get carried away, look into the future. We can't, rest on our laurels or anything about what happened. Just live within the moment. I think some might have looked in the future today at practice just because they were waiting to get home and to get into warm weather, get in a warm house, because there's a little cold one out there.
Coldest practice of the year?
Oh, by far. We kind of joked around that we all got to be outside together during the first snowfall of the year and stuff like that. But so they got a kick out of being out there when it was snowing a little bit. But we said, hey, you never know. It could be just like this at any game,
Yeah.
because it's a roller coaster ride as far as the weather's
Yep,
concerned
yep.
in Illinois. And,
In November it is.
yeah, in November, for sure. And so, it was a cold one, but I think every single one of those guys would definitely be out there in the cold rather than putting gear away this week.
Yeah.
And so we're going to just keep, looking forward to the opportunity of getting there better every day, and hopefully, showing off our skills on Saturday down at Highland.
It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
Oh, always is.
Coach, good luck Saturday.
Well, thank you
Bring
very
home
much.
a W. We'll see you Saturday in Highland.